How about now? Oh, yay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Some days are better than others. Okay. Good to see everybody. We need to remember to see who's going to attend and answer, take questions for the final. So after we finish the teaching for today, we'll do that. Okay, let's get started. Let's make the mandala mudra, please. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayam. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit that I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. 2. The Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength. The Dharma, the enlightened side of truth. And the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit that I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, let's see if I can get my computer set up properly here. Okay, I think I've got everybody on the screen. Okay, so we have rejoicing to do. I've got a lot of rejoicing to do, but I'll go last. So, Katerina, what do you have to rejoice about?
Hello. Uh, I'm glad to see you all. I rejoice today that I have funny kids and funny kids. um, and I very glad to see your students in Diamond Mountain on retreat.
Well, okay. Yes, it was great fun to see. Many of my students were there. We went down for the fire puja. It was quite fun, and it was great to see everybody. So, okay, Svetlana, what do you have to rejoice in?
Hello, Venerable Sumati. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I also rejoicing to seeing you among students with Geshe Michael at Diamond Mountain Retreat Center. And also I'm rejoicing that we had 4 days business trip from Thursday till yesterday. And it was good way to connect secular approach and the spiritual approach of practicing. There were such event that company provided us 5-star hotel, restaurants, excursions, entertainments, and it was so much fun. And it's like about diamond cutter approach. If you want to reinvest good seeds, you need to invite all people, all commercials who are helping your business, and you need to have a good party so they can work better further. So for me, it's like that. And when we had a party at the restaurant in one of those 4 very beautiful days, our table, there were different teams, and like I wanted that our team would win, and I tried to share this victory to everyone. So I tried to imagine that everyone is already a winner, and this victory to everyone. And if we are winning, we can share this victory with everyone. And it's rare for me, but our team happened to be the winner. So and it felt so nice, and such subtle feeling that you are joining to those who are already winners, and so you're everyone is already a winner, and you are joining their club of winners. So, and I dedicated that we can all can win over our mental afflictions and reach our ultimate goal, and join all perfect beings.
Wow. A 5-star hotel. I don't think I've ever stayed in a 5-star hotel. Wow. How many people were in the group?
Around 70, something like this.
Wow. Wow. Well, good job. And congratulations on winning. Okay. Lydia, right?
Yes, right. Good evening and good morning, everyone. I will be short today. I started to do Ganden Hogyama practice. I met with this practice maybe 1 year. But this, I think it was August or September, Nina Ivanina made an empowerment. And I started to do that. So with big motivation to meet my teacher, to understand who is my teacher, to move forward.
Good, good. Well, you get started. That's the important thing. Now keep it up, and it'll make your life it'll make your life more interesting. Let's put it that way. Very good, very good. Okay, Daria, what do you have to rejoice in?
Good morning, Venerable Sumati. I'm rejoice. Last week, I went to the hospital with my mother. Her left eyes is going blind, and today the doctor told my mother that we'll do this operation. It will be okay, and she's very worried about this. But I tried to do something and calm her down.
When's the surgery going to take place?
Surgery, yes. Surgery for her eyes.
When is it going to take
Oh,
place?
when it's, I don't know, maybe it's February, because we are waiting for mom to be given a quota for surgery.
Got it.
Because it's best, I think best for me, hospital. And we wait.
Well, when you get a date for the surgery, please email me your mother's full name,
Okay.
and we'll put her on. My wife has a healing list that has been very successful in helping, prayer list that's been very successful in helping people. So I'd like to put your mother's name on that, but it's only effective if it's at the time of her surgery. So please
Okay.
remember to do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Katya, it's just like I just, well, wait, I did just see you.
Yes, now I'm in the airport going back to Guadalajara.
Uh-huh.
So maybe the internet is not so good, but I rejoice that I saw you in Diamond Mountain, that we spent a beautiful time there. And I rejoice of the retreat, that it was really wonderful. And I dedicate it so that more people can have these opportunities.
Very good. Now let me see. Are you going to participate in the review class on Thursday?
Yes, on Thursday, yes, I can.
Okay, I'll put you on the list.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's go with Tatiana.
Здравствуйте всем, здравствуйте.
Good day, everybody. Good day, dear Lama Sumati. I wanted to ask a question. If I correctly understood, so this is a magic thing you are acquainted with. Did you see this thing before?
It's a butterfly. No, I haven't seen it before. I've never seen it
А я
before.
слышала рассказ, что вы стояли где-то рядом, где она
And
находилась.
I
эта
heard the story that you were standing close to this butterfly. I won this in one competition, and they sent it to me through 4 countries, and I am very happy for these seeds of connection. I will get to know the story of this butterfly, and I will tell you later, okay?
Okay. It's beautiful.
Она
Good. I look
просто
forward to
изумительна.
hearing.
И в ней
It's
какой-то
amazing. And there is also the sense that they gave me this like a gift to put on the altar.
Very good. I think Katya is getting ready to get on the plane. Okay. Safe trip. Well, Tatiana, I look forward to hearing a bit of the story behind the butterfly. Okay. Anna, do you have anything to rejoice in?
Yes, I also have some reasons to rejoice. Hello, Venerable Sumati. Hello, everyone. About my rejoicing, I was a volunteer for Buddha medicine retreat, and I am very happy that not all situations were absolutely smoothly, but we do our best. And I'm very glad that this retreat was really very bright and full of wisdom, full of new friends. So I'm very glad about this. Thank you.
Thank you for helping with the retreat. Okay, who's next here? Yevgeny.
Всем привет.
Hello, everybody. I want to rejoice as Anna that I was volunteer on the retreat, and everything went very smooth, and we connected many people on 12 languages with
Wow.
Dharma, and we did everything successfully. And I think this is the huge rejoice when we connect people with this happiness that can bring people to the highest goal. And we don't know, maybe tomorrow some people will see some classes by Geshe Michael and will see emptiness directly. And so this is like the best what can happen on this retreat. And I was very happy to see Katya and Michael, and I see the Katya here. I was very happy to see her on the retreat.
Excellent. And thank you for helping with the retreat. I know that's a huge amount of work and can be frustrating, somewhat like getting the microphone to work today. Okay, who's next here? Olga, do you have something to rejoice in?
Well, maybe I will just translate.
Okay, that's
Okay,
fine. Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
fine. Christina.
Venerable Sumati, I'm so sorry she can't speak, but she wrote, today I'm happy about my conversation with my mother, where I saw silent. I'm glad that I managed to remain silent and not comment or either my mom's thoughts or my mom's actions.
Well, that can be difficult, but congratulations on being able to put it in perspective and know how to respond. Okay. Well, my turn. Lots happened in the last couple of weeks. I came down with COVID, and that was an interesting experience. I only had one day where I was really sick and mainly just really weak. And then we took some antiviral medicine, and I'm virus free now. My wife was sick for longer, but she's also virus free now, which is good because in a week from today, we're traveling to Spain for a month of travel and teaching. So if you're going to get COVID, you need to get it before you go travel somewhere. So that was interesting. What else happened? Oh, we went down to Diamond Mountain for the fire puja and were able to meet several students. I had met Mike before, as well as Katya and her sister Sheila, but it was good to see him in person. And no, it's great to see him in person. Katya and Sheila are just way too much fun. They're just all very happy and upbeat, and they took very good care of me. So I thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing you in Spain. The end of next week, we'll be having some more fun. What else? Oh, this is so my computer the C drive needed to be replaced because it was failing. So I did that. When I fired my computer up again, one of the hard drives, which had been 500 gigabyte, was now 1 terabyte. So it doubled in memory capacity. But I didn't put a 1 terabyte disk in the computer. It was a 500 gigabyte disk. So somehow when I reloaded Windows, well, let me start from the beginning. I reloaded Windows and the D drive was bit locked. And if you don't have a 48 character key, you can't open that drive. Well, I didn't ask it to bit lock. So I had a dilemma. Luckily for me, I had copied the contents of that drive. So the data wasn't lost, but I didn't want to have that drive locked. So it took me the better part of 10 hours to get the help I needed to get that drive unlocked. And when they unlocked it, the drive went from 500 gigabytes to 1 terabyte versus memory, which I can't explain. But that just goes to show the emptiness of how computers work. Because for some reason, because of my past generosity in helping others, I now have double the capacity of a hard drive. That's very, and I've contacted Seagate and Samsung, the makers of the hard drive, trying to find out how this is even possible. And so far, they don't have an answer. They think I'm nuts. So I do have a very good friend who's a real computer expert. And I saw on an email, I've got a reply from him on an email. So if it's something interesting, I'll share that all with you next class. Okay, what else? I think that's it. Okay, so good rejoicing. This class is kind of, well, this class is how empty things still work. And it's really important in our study of emptiness to remember that the lower schools set the foundation for the higher schools. So understanding a lower school's understanding of emptiness seems to be silly. We should just go to the higher school. But as Geshe Michael has taught many times, as Arya Nagarjuna has taught many times, if you understand the lower schools, then you'll understand the higher school. So even though things are empty, they still work properly. That's a lower school understanding of emptiness. And as our studies progress, we'll come to the realization that there's a more complete explanation. And the higher school statement is a slight change in that. So the lower school says again, even though things are empty, they still work properly. The higher school says, because things are empty, they can work properly. So it's really important to make that distinction. So let's go through it again. Even though things are empty, they still work properly. But the higher school says because things are empty, they can work properly. When teaching emptiness, sometimes you need to take a lower position of understanding to explain it. Then you build on that to reach the higher level if you can. So Geshe Michael uses 2 other examples other than the pen for the concept of emptiness and dependent origination. The 2 other examples are investment strategies and medicine. It doesn't take being a Buddhist to understand that to say investment strategies always work or medicine always works is not true. Sometimes medicine works, sometimes it does not. The antibiotic penicillin, one of my sisters is very allergic to that. So in this case, the medicine not only doesn't work, but it harms. The classic medication for Parkinson's, carbidopa levodopa, does not work for my left side of my body. It is clear to my doctor that I have Parkinson's, but there are some Parkinson's cases where the patient does not respond to that medication. So again, that medication, if it was self-existently working, it would work all the time. The fact that it isn't working, the fact that investments don't always work, the fact that my sister is allergic to penicillin is an example of the emptiness of medicine, of how medicine works. So we're not talking about the emptiness of an object. We're not talking about my being empty of being good or bad, or a teacher or a good or bad person. We're talking about the emptiness of the way things function, the way in which two things interact. This too has its own emptiness, and it's perhaps the harder concept to grasp. It's pretty easy as we go through these studies to think we understand the concept of emptiness. But if we're really honest with ourselves, we catch ourselves. We could catch ourselves thinking that, but not really believing it. How things come from what we do. This is empty as well, as Lord Buddha stresses in the Dhammapada Sutra. Empty. What are things empty of? They're empty of self-existence. What does it mean for the function of medicine or an investment strategy to be empty? How can we prove this? What is the emptiness of medicine? The fact that it does not have any healing properties that come from its own side. The fact that it does not have any healing properties that come from its own side. The pill is empty as self-existent. We project penicillin onto the parts that we perceive the pill. But what about when you take the pill? Something happens or does not. This is the hardest part. Is karma ripening for the penicillin to be good for me and help me? Or is my karma ripening for the penicillin to be dangerous and harmful to me? Every normal object in this deceptive world is a projection. Having the medicine work or not work is part of the deceptive world, so it's a projection as well. So what do we mean by deceptive world? Deceptive world is a world where things appear to be self-existent, but they are not. It's important in moving our minds to the higher level schools to realize that the working of things, their functioning, is empty as well. That doesn't mean they don't function. It means their function comes from our karma ripening. Their functioning, every aspect of the functioning of anything, is a result of our projections forced by our karma ripening. So one could easily ask, what about someone who's unconscious in a coma? Karma works on a level deeper than consciousness. Since the unconscious person is not dead, they still have awareness at some level. And because they have awareness, karma is ripening projections and it's still going on. In asking this question, our minds are still trying to hold on to something not being my projection, something that has to be self-existent and real. Thinking this, which I do, and I would imagine you do, even though we try not to, thinking this still shows how much we think that something that is a projection is somehow less real. We must grasp this fact that because it is a projection, it is more, in fact, more real. It's very important to not equate projection with illusion. It's very important. And that's something we tend to do. If you look at the pot on the stove, the real pot you think you are seeing is just pieces of data that your mind makes into a whole, real, usable pot. You can boil water in it, you can make tea, it does function, but it's a result of your karma ripening, not because it's a pot from its own side. That's really important that we understand and work on that. When you go looking for the thing that gets the label, you cannot find it. What you find are deeper layers of parts. So I struggle with is I'm projecting. Geshe Michael talks about parts that are out there that we assemble into um, teapot, let's say, or the microphone in front of my computer. So I assemble those parts into the microphone because that's my karma ripening. But I still, where do the parts come from? And the parts obviously have to come from my karma. So I look at karma this way. I think of karma ripens, then I see it. So I project what I'm going to see next, and it assembles the parts, and then I see what I projected. My karma ripens, then I see it. That's the part that still is confusing to me. I don't say that karma that's not true, that karma and emptiness are not true. I still firmly believe that that's true, and I'm trying to lead my life that way. But I still have trouble understanding where the parts are, where the parts come from. I know they're coming from my karma. I understand that, but I'm having trouble understanding how they could be out there for me to assemble into a projection. That's the part I'm confused with. So if any of you understand that better than I do, raise your hand and explain it to me. And that's true, actually, of anything I say. If you feel you have at least as good an understanding or a better understanding than me, do not be shy. Do we project those parts before we enter the room? See, now that's the question, Svetlana. That's what I struggle with. If I have a pen, I have this pen, and I put it down, and I walk out to get a cup of coffee, and is the pen still there? If I say yes, it's got I can say yes and think, well, self-existently it's there, or I can say yes, my karma is still ripening for it to be there, even though I'm not in the room, because when I come in the room, it's there. So, and if my wife walks into the room when I'm not in the room, she sees the pen, because maybe I asked her to go get it. But does she see it because it's self-existent, which that implies? Or does she see it because we share a karma for this particular type of pen? Now, when I go into my room, I see somewhat less than completely organized. I know where everything is, but it's not as neat as my wife would like to see. So is she seeing the same room I am? I don't know. If I say yes, then that means things are self-existent, and she's seeing self-existent things, which we know is not true. So the fact that when she comes into my room and sees the disorganization on my desk, maybe, which I think is very organized, then that's the emptiness, the lack of self-existence to the contents of my room. But that doesn't mean they're not there. It just means it depends on my projections, on her projections. So that's the struggle. I think that's what Arya Nagarjuna and Geshe Michael were talking about in this class. Well, not Arya Nagarjuna wasn't talking about Diamond Cutter, but the fact is that we slip constantly back into the more comfortable thinking it's self-existent. Yes, emptiness is also a projection, which makes it possible. Because see, If we think everything's a projection, is karma, is our karma ripening and being a projection, everything. Even though I say there's only one self-existent thing in the universe, and that's how to cut pancakes, French toast, and waffles, I'm of course joking. Okay, so this is a good question that he talks about. What about the sun rising? Is that a projection as well? Well, our answer has to be, of course, it's a projection. Everything in my deceptive world is a projection. It's a projection that 6 billion people have every 24 hours, let alone all the other sentient creatures of the world. If we analyze it, what are its parts? In this case, its parts cover a time span. The second before sunrise, the parts of the sun rising above the horizon, through the sky to sunset. So how do we share that? How can 6 billion people and untold billions of animals and plants that sense sunlight, how can they all have that same karma? It's a collective karma. We have a collective karma with every other living being on this planet for the sun to rise every 24 hours. Where did this come from? We all collected some virtue, perhaps giving light or heat or warmth to others in the past on a regular basis, which now ripens as every 24 hours. Now, here's a question to think about. Do meditators in an enclosed cave without a clock project sunrise? Memory of sunrise, perhaps, but not sunrise itself. There appears to be a consistency of sunrise experienced by all beings in our world, but when you go looking for that consistency, you will not find it. And this is analogous to looking for the parts of the pot. So I think that's a very interesting example because we take it for granted. Because we think the rising of the sun is self-existent. But if we understand the concepts in Buddhism, if it was self-existent, the sun couldn't rise. It couldn't move through the sky because it would be unchanging. So projections are not just limited to our physical senses. Projections are also our thoughts, emotions, all mental functions. Projections forced on us by our karma, which is basically movement of the mind. When we see anything change, shift, move, or cause another thing to change, shift, or move, those things are not changing. It's a projection, it's a shift in our projections. So, when something appears to function, what is happening is one's own karma is shifting. There's a famous quote from Nagarjuna about nothing starts, nothing stays, and nothing stops. What is not said is this does not happen self-existently. So nothing starts self-existently, nothing stops self-existently, nothing stays self-existently. When you get up to go somewhere, it's a whole series of karma ripening for that to happen. There's a karma to ripen for me to get out of a chair, a karma ripening for me to take my first step going somewhere. But we tend to think that's going to happen independent of karma, and it doesn't. But this is not just our attitude. We cannot choose our projections. perhaps this is part of the conundrum. Things do not change self-existently. Our karma and ripening into projection changes. So there's data out there we project onto. When our projection changes, what happens to the data? The data is also a projection made of parts. The data appears as parts under which, on which a projection can be laid. And now it's appearing as different parts and different parts again and again. And that's what means to have a person walking before you. I'm sorry, go ahead, repeat that. Repeat what, I'm not seeing the chat. Katrina, can you repeat what you?
There are some questions in chat.
Okay.
Can you read or I can read?
Let me see here.
If emptiness is a projection, how it may be unchanging?
If emptiness is a projection, well, emptiness is well, how do we define that? Emptiness is either there or it isn't. So it's unchanging in the fact that something has emptiness, and when that object goes away, the emptiness is 100% gone. So emptiness is unchanging in that sense. It's not gradual. Well, how about the next question? I don't know why I'm not seeing new messages. No, I'm not seeing the messages. So yes, go ahead if there's another question. Go ahead,
May I ask
Kathleen.
a question?
Sure.
But I need translation. Thank you. Я тоже размышляю.
I'm reflecting about this very often, and it's something incredible that we create a blue sky, and we have collective karma. But in next courses, ACI, we say about we see the world differently, not like it was described by a realized being. But at the same time, we have this collective karma, as you said about pen, that everybody sees this pen, me, like my wife, and all the people around me sees this pen the same. And also when I think if I create everything myself, all the reality, and it happens then that nowadays in this world there are big boom happened. So I created everything, started from big boom, or it's only seems to me this reality, like people used to say like this. And also you said this example about the pen in another room. Is it there or not? And for me, it's like the history about forest. Like when I don't see the forest, for me, it's very difficult to understand.
Well,
I don't
join the
know.
club. Yeah, I struggle with that too. But in my struggle, I don't think of it not being true. I struggle to understand that it is true. So when we say everybody sees the pen, we're making an assumption that all of you see this pen the same way I do. Now, and that's an assumption that's probably wrong, because you may be seeing this pen, this is a Sharpie pen, a thin Sharpie pen. So I like them, but you may not like them because they're too thin a line. So yes, we both see the pen, but your idea, your projection of the pen is slightly different than mine, because it's coming from your seeds to see a pen. Now, I'm assuming you all see this as a thin pen versus this. But that's an assumption I'm making. I don't know how you're perceiving this pen, but that doesn't mean it's not there to be perceived. It doesn't mean it's self-existent. If we were all seeing the exact same pen, that would imply it's self-existent, which we know it isn't. So this is difficult. This is difficult. So it's like well, like I say, I leave the room, and is the contents of my room still there? I personally, this is just me personally, I have the karma for this house to exist. I project this house. And because I have the karma for the house to exist, when I leave my room, the contents of the room remains there, because I am projecting it to be in that room, whether I'm in the room or not. That to me explains that I don't believe it's self-existent. I believe it's my karma ripening. Now, here's a good example. I had to work on my computer, so I needed an anti-static pad to make sure static electricity didn't discharge and ruin my computer. So I spent the better part of half a day trying to find that mat. And I was looking for a gray silicon mat that was rolled up like a yoga mat, because that's how I remembered storing it. And I looked and I looked. I had my wife look. I got really close to ordering a new one. They're only like 30 bucks. And I thought, maybe this is like when I was looking for that headlamp on my trip to South Africa. I was looking for a particular version of the headlamp and didn't see that the version that I was looking for wasn't the version that was in the car, so to speak. So I went back into my room and I said, okay, I need to look at everything one more time from a different viewpoint. And sure enough, when I looked, I saw a tall box, and that box had on the side of it anti-static mat. And there it was. It was in a box, not by itself. So self-existently, it wasn't there because I was looking for the gray, and it was in a brown box. Now, my karma wasn't ripening. What was that gray box? Was that brown box there when I was looking for the gray rolled up sheet? Well, when I think back, I do remember seeing a brown box and thinking that it wasn't what I was looking for. So my karma was ripening not to see that, because I was looking for a gray rolled up mat. Now, I did see the box, but it didn't mean anything to me. So I had the karma. The room was full of the things I have the karma to project. And I was projecting the mat, but in a form that I wasn't thinking about. So does that mean it wasn't there? No, it just means I wasn't projecting. The karma I was projecting for all the contents in my room, and the karma that was ripening for me to see that particular object hadn't coalesced. So that to me is collective karma. Collective karma is the contents of my room. A selective karma, looking for one particular thing, makes me have to sort through what's in the collective karma to find the object I'm looking for. It's not an easy thing. I think the point of what we're talking about is when you think you understand emptiness and projections and karma, stop and think about when you thought something was self-existent, when you thought it wasn't your karma ripening. And I think we think that, I know I think that, well, I understand it's my karma ripening, but I haven't quite put it together yet that it's always my karma ripening. I'm looking now at a bunch of books I haven't looked at in probably a year. Are they self-existent? No, they're my projection. Why am I projecting them if I haven't looked at them for a year? Because it's my collective karma for this room to have those books in the room. So this is difficult to deal with. You have to work very hard on it. But the important thing, the most important thing to remember is the fact that it's projections, karma ripening and projections. It's nothing less than that. And we have to keep that in mind all the time. Catch yourself, catch yourself thinking things are self-existent. And if you're honest with yourself, that'll be probably 90% of your day. You're going to think that that thing's self-existent when it isn't. So let's take the example of someone walking. If we see someone walking, there are changes in the shapes and colors being presented to our eyes. But when we investigate, just find it to be smaller shapes. If we leave it alone, there's data. The data suggests a person walking along, but you can never find the actual data that shows that. This is what we mean when you go looking for a thing and to get a label, you cannot find it. When you leave it alone, you see a person walking along, which is valid. So we are trying to grasp the things that are caused, things that are changed, things that do something. Those because things are caused by shifting our projections, forced by shifting karma. The suffering of our world is caused by us expecting some result from another thing and not getting it some of the time. And this brings confusion, anger, and desire. If we knew cause and effect perfectly, we would not expect things to work like that. Our deceptive reality is just like that. Until we understand the causes for obtaining anything we want, we do what we think will bring them about, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If we hear a dog barking, we think the dog is barking self-existently. If it is pleasantly ripening for us, it's virtue. If it's unpleasant, it's something we did in the past to annoy another person. The dog barking is not out there on its own, independent of our minds projecting it. If the dog stops barking, my karma has shifted, and I do not have the karma for the dog barking anymore. Now, you could argue, well, no, that's not true, Sumati. It's the owner went out and told the dog to stop barking. Well, I'm not saying the owner didn't do that, but it was my karma ripening to have the owner go out and tell the dog to stop barking. The owner didn't do that on their own. So, did the dog stop barking? Why? Because my projection shifted, and for no other reason than that. The lower schools say there are two types of reality: accurate deceptive reality, like a lake you can drink from or drown in, and inaccurate deceptive reality, a mirage. Neither one is what they seem, but one is more deceptive than the other, according to the lower schools. The higher school, Madhyamika Prasangika, says it doesn't matter, neither a lake or a mirage are ultimately what they seem. How so? Conventionally, a lake is what it seems. Ultimately, it does not exist in the way that it seems. Until you see emptiness directly, nothing works in the way it seems to you. We live in our lives as if what we do in this moment causes whatever happens next, but this is deceptive. What really happens next is due to our past virtue or non-virtue. Success in this life has nothing to do how smart we are right now, how well we can manipulate our environment. It has to do how well we kept our morality in the past, our 6 perfections. I was talking to one student who had helped me. I was asked to arrange the chairs for the fire puja, and Martine was helping me. And we got to talking. We were talking about karma ripening and how that affects the day-to-day operation in your life. And I said, Martine, what helps me is to think of the past is my present and the present is my future. So I have no control of what I did in the past. I have all the control. If I believe in karma and emptiness, I have the control in my presence to create my future. So if you keep that present is the past is the present, present is the future. If you keep thinking that all through the day, you'll find yourself thinking, well, now it's an example. I can leave that dirty dish on the stove, and my wife, who's supposed to clean the dishes up, will find it and clean up the dishes. Or I can make it easier for her and take that pot and put it over on the sink, rinse it out and put it on the sink, so it's easier for her to clean. The first version is wrong. If I want things to happen for me in a convenient and helpful way, I need to do that now. So don't look at that pot and go, well, that's for her to take care of. Take the pot, put it over where it's easier for her to work with. I'm in charge of emptying the dishwasher. So I try to empty it right away so she can do whatever dishes she needs and use it again without having to wait for me. And the reason I do that is, one, it makes my wife happy, which is always good. And two, is because in my future, I want to have my karma ripen to help other people instead of ignore other people. So that seems trivial, but it's not trivial. That's what I mean by thinking about the past is your present, the present is your future. All of your actions today, tomorrow, in the present moment are setting the stage for your future. So if you don't want a happy future, don't worry about making other people happy. That's a guarantee your future won't be happy. So the higher school says that the only investment strategy that works is to give your money away. Be generous and be generous to holy objects, the highest holy objects you can find. Since you do not really know who is a powerful karmic object, you should be generous as much as you can to everybody. But it's easy for people to think you have to be generous with money. I don't believe that. It's not that you don't have to be generous with money, but you should be generous with everything. Generous with time, generous with knowledge, generous with the skills you have, will be the source of a pleasant life in the future. So generosity has so many aspects to it that I think it's people tend to think it has to do with money. And don't get me wrong, generosity with money is very important. But generosity with time, generosity with attitude, generosity with helping people find things. I do that every time I get a chance to help someone find something. I dedicate it to my finding what I need with my various book projects or my Dharma studies. That fuels the ability for me to find things. I go out of my way often to find things for others. We have to stop our mind from thinking that if something is a projection, it's not real, or that it does not work. Because things are projections, they do work. Cause and effect is also a projection. It's a projection that a tomato plant comes from a tomato seed. Our minds do think that an acorn has the potential to make an oak tree independent of what we see, independent of our projection. The higher schools say no. If and when we see an acorn produce a sprout of an oak tree, it is only a shift in the projections of our mind. So we're saying that karma itself is a projection. Higher school says the mind-only school says when you finish a deed, virtue or not, the energy of that deed parks itself in the storehouse, the kunchi, the storehouse consciousness, a separate consciousness that we have where it stays growing under the influence of our motivation until it ripens into a current result. The higher school says there's no need to have a kunchi because karma itself is empty of self-existence. Catch yourself. Did you just think, well, if karma itself is empty of self-existence, then nothing exists and I can do whatever I want? No. That couldn't be more, you couldn't be further wrong than that. Because things are not self-existent, it does matter. It absolutely matters what you do. Because things are empty, we must observe the laws of karma and behave morally if we want future pleasant things to happen, let alone total enlightenment. The viewpoint that morality is unnecessary because things are empty is missing the point because you're thinking of emptiness in the wrong way. Because things are empty of self-existence, morality does matter. Period. End of story. So again, if we go to the beginning of class, how empty things still work. Even though things are empty, they still work properly. That's the lower school. Because things are empty, they can work properly. That's the higher school. It's subtle, and so much about karma and emptiness is subtle that makes it difficult to wrap our minds around it. But catch yourself all the time, remembering that the past is the present is the future. If you can keep that in mind and use that to govern any action you do, any action at all, I think you'll find yourself catching where you've made assumptions in the past and now can explain why things are happening the way they are in your present. Well, that's our last class for the Diamond Cutter Sutra. I thank you for hanging in there. It's a difficult course to teach and one I still struggle with even after all these years. But I think I'm making progress. Okay. We need to find out who's going to participate in the review session. So Katya will be part of it. Who else is going to help me with going through the exam? Svetlana? Yeah, okay. Katerina?
I can't on Thursday, sorry.
I'm sorry, yes or no?
No,
No.
I can't be on the next class, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I don't see Mike. Well, that's a short list.
Evgeny.
Evgeny also. Yes.
Okay, Yevgeny. I tell you what, Svetlana, can you poll, you have a list of everybody in the class, poll them and ask them if they're going to be part of it. Let me know this evening, well, as soon as you find out, and then I will send you back a list of who's getting what questions. Great, thank you.
Venerable
Okay.
Sumati.
Yes?
I will. I passed the exam, but I will.
You will? Okay. Thank you, Daria. Okay. Well, let's dedicate the virtue of struggling through this class. I want to do, which one do I want to do? May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma taught by the Buddha, always increase. May the merit of my life and my practice be for the benefit of all my students and all sentient beings without exception. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow, and may that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Okay, hopefully we'll see all of you for the review class, whether you're helping with the review or not, that's fine. It's always a chance to get an idea of what's going on with the final. And then we can decide, we'll decide Thursday when course 7 will start. I'm going to be gone to Spain I'm going to be away from home for 48 days, starting next Monday. So I'm not going to be teaching, for the most part, teaching classes during that time. So we'll see you all. Well, we'll see you all Thursday. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Благодарим. До свидания.
Thank you so much.